I still remember the sound of the beeping machines, that cold, sterile rhythm that used to echo through the hospital room, my stage, my prison, my lie. It's strange how a sound meant to keep someone alive was the same sound that kept my secret breathing. Have you ever told a lie so big, so convincing, that even you started to believe it? What if that lie became your identity? What if the world loved you more because of it? And you couldn't stand the truth anymore? My name is Jacob. I'm 30 now. But when I was 17, I did something that still haunts every breath I take. I told the world I was hit by a car, and for 3 years, I pretended to be paralyzed. People think guilt fades with time. It doesn't. It just finds new ways to whisper. Sometimes in my dreams, sometimes in the way my mother looks at me with pride, believing I survived something extraordinary. If she knew the truth, I think it would kill her, or maybe it would finally set me free. Back then, I was just a quiet kid in a loud house. My parents never really saw me, not the way they saw my brothers. They were perfect. Grades, sports, charm, me. I was the shadow at the dinner table. If I disappeared for a day, no one asked where I went. If I spoke, no one listened. And then came that day, the day I decided that being invisible hurt more than being broken. It started with a small cut, just a lie about a fall. My mom barely reacted, so I made it bigger. I told her I was almost hit by a car. That one got her attention. For the first time in years, she looked terrified for me. She hugged me. It felt like sunlight after years in a cold cave. That's how it began. One small lie that grew like a weed, choking everything else in my life. A week later, I made it worse. I told her I couldn't feel my legs properly. Doctors ran tests. They found nothing. My mom cried. My dad sat silent, staring at the floor. And for the first time ever, I saw fear in their eyes. Fear of losing me. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. Because for once, I felt seen. Soon enough, I stopped walking completely. I told everyone I couldn't move my legs. The doctors called it trauma, PTSD from a near-death shock, and I played my role perfectly. Hospital visits. Physical therapy, fake pain. Real tears. My parents started spending nights in my room. My friends visited. Teachers sent messages. Everyone cared. It was intoxicating and horrifying. Every night I told myself, tomorrow I'll end it. I'll tell them the truth. But every morning, I'd wake up to breakfast in bed, my mom smiling, my dad asking how I felt, and I'd lose my courage again. Because I knew that once the truth came out, I'd lose everything all over again. The worst part wasn't pretending to be paralyzed. It was becoming it. After months of lying still, my muscles weakened. I started to feel actual pain in my legs. The line between the lie and reality blurred. I wasn't sure if I could even walk anymore. I had trapped myself in a prison of my own creation. 3 years passed like that. 3 long years of pretending, of hating myself, of watching life slip by outside the window. People pitied me. My brothers finally treated me kindly. My mother called me her miracle child. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them the truth, but how could I? How do you tell your family that their tears, their prayers, their sacrifices were all for a lie? Then came the therapist. A man named Dr. Rylan, calm voice, kind eyes. The first person who didn't look at me like I was broken. He didn't talk about my legs. He talked about fear, about control, about guilt. He said sometimes the mind traps the body when it's too afraid to face life. It was like he could see through me. Every word he spoke dug deeper, closer to the truth I buried. But I didn't confess. I let him believe what everyone else did, that I was traumatized, not deceitful. Under hypnotherapy, he made me imagine walking again. He told me to stand, and somehow, I did. My mother screamed. My dad cried. Everyone called it a miracle. And I called it freedom. But it wasn't. It was just another version of the lie, because I never told him or anyone what really happened. And now, years later, the truth still rots inside me like a wound that never heals. My partner, Claire, has no idea. She believes the story, too. The car, the paralysis, the miracle recovery. She tells our friends how strong I was, and every time I smile and die a little inside. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I told her. If I told anyone, would they forgive me? Or would they see me for what I truly am? A coward who built his identity on deception. Last week, my therapist asked me again about my teenage years, and something inside me cracked. For the first time in years, I wanted to tell the truth. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. Maybe I've been silent for so long. I forgot how to speak honestly. Tonight I'm sitting in the dark, staring at the old wheelchair in the corner of my apartment. The same one that used to define me is just an object now. But somehow it still holds power over me. Every time I look at it, I feel that 17-year-old boy again, scared, lonely, desperate to be loved. And maybe that's the real tragedy. I didn't lie because I was evil. I lied because I wanted someone to care. But now, I'm 30, and I don't even know who Jacob really is anymore. It started with a sound, a simple click, the soft snap of my girlfriend's phone camera. "Babe, look here," Claire said, smiling as she snapped another photo. We were sitting in the park that afternoon, sunlight dripping through the trees like gold. She was scrolling through old pictures to post on social media. "Hey, you should post one from your recovery days," she said. "You'd inspire so many people." My heart stopped. "Recovery days?" I asked, forcing a smile. "Yeah! That picture your mom took when you stood for the first time. You still have it, right? That photo. That cursed photo. I kept it buried in a folder named Miscellaneous. It showed me standing beside my mother, her face streaked with tears, my legs trembling from the act. Everyone thought it was the moment I walked again. For me, it was the moment I sealed my own coffin shut. Maybe later," I mumbled. "It's kind of private," she shrugged, oblivious. "Sure, just think about it. People love real stories of hope. Real stories." The words cut deeper than she knew. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her voice. Inspire people. My entire life had been a story built to inspire pity, not hope. And somehow that lie had followed me into adulthood. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Hey, sweetheart, I was showing Claire some old photos." "She's so proud of you." My stomach flipped. Showing Claire photos? I opened my messages, fingers trembling. There it was, a photo I hadn't seen in years. Me, pale and thin, lying in bed, eyes hollow. The caption she had written, "My brave boy fighting every day." It was like looking at a ghost, not of who I was, but who I pretended to be. For a moment, I thought about coming clean right then. I even typed the message, "Mom, I need to tell you something about those years." But then the typing bubble appeared. She replied first, "You'll always be our miracle. Jacob, don't ever forget that. Delete, backspace, gone." I stared at my reflection in the black mirror of my phone. Who was I lying to now? Her or myself? Days passed. I started feeling the old anxiety again, the weight pressing against my ribs, the sweat on my palms. I'd been through therapy for years, learning to manage my trauma. But this wasn't trauma. It was fear. The fear of being found out. It didn't help that my therapist, Dr. Kellen, had been pushing me lately. "You often talk about guilt, Jacob," he said one session, leaning forward. "But guilt over what exactly?" I avoided his eyes. "I don't know. Maybe survivor's guilt." He hummed. You survived something that changed your life. It's natural to feel conflicted, but sometimes guilt hides something else, something we can't face yet. He said it so calmly, but it felt like a knife twisting inside me. He didn't know how close he was to the truth. One evening, I came home to find Claire sitting on the couch, staring at her phone with an expression I didn't like. "Hey," I said cautiously. She looked up, hesitant. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. My cousin works at St. Mary's Hospital. I told her about your accident. She said she checked the old records, just out of curiosity, you know, and she couldn't find anything about your case. No files, no admission under your name." The world went silent. My throat tightened, but my mind scrambled for survival. "Oh, yeah," I forced a laugh. "That's because I wasn't admitted under my name. My dad handled everything privately. Insurance issues. He didn't want it public." She nodded slowly. Too slowly. That makes sense, I guess. But her eyes told me she wasn't convinced. That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling. The darkness felt alive, whispering the same question over and over. How long before it all comes crashing down? For years I'd managed the lie like a magician keeping his tricks hidden. But now the seams were showing. Old friends had started reconnecting online, people from my high school days. One of them, Tyler, sent me a message. "Hey man, remember that car accident? Wild times. Which street was it again?" I was trying to explain it to someone. I froze. I didn't remember the fake details I used to tell. I typed something vague. It was near Riverside Belle VD, and hit send. Seconds later, he replied, "Weird. There's no record of any accident there that year. Small town, remember? Stuff like that spreads fast." The blood drained from my face. This wasn't just paranoia anymore. The lie wasn't safe. It was bleeding out, and everyone around me was starting to notice the cracks. That week I began to avoid people. I canceled dinner plans, ignored calls, shut myself off. Claire thought I was stressed about work. My therapist thought I was processing old trauma. But the truth was simpler, was suffocating in my own deception. Then came the call that changed everything. It was my mother. Her voice trembled through the line. "Jacob, I got a message today from one of your old doctors. He was updating patient records from your case. He says something doesn't add up. Your tests back then, they never showed any spinal damage." My hands went cold. She hesitated. "You didn't fake any of it, did you?" That single question hung in the air like a loaded gun. For a long time, I said nothing. I could hear her breathing on the other end, fragile, scared. Finally, I whispered, "Mom, it's complicated." Her voice cracked. "Jacob, what does that mean?" I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to cry and confess and beg for forgiveness. But the fear of breaking her heart, of seeing the love in her eyes turn to disgust, stopped me cold. "I have to go," I said quietly, and I hung up. When I looked up, Claire was standing in the doorway. She had heard everything. Her face was pale. "Jacob, what did she mean? What doesn't add up?" And just like that, my carefully built world began to crumble. "Jacob." Her voice was shaking. Not angry, not yet. Just trembling with disbelief, the kind that cuts deeper than rage ever could. "What doesn't add up?" Claire repeated, stepping closer. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Every word I could have said felt like a bullet aimed at my own chest. She stared at me, eyes glistening. "Your mom sounded scared." "What did she mean?" I tried to swallow, but my throat was dry. "It's nothing serious. Just a misunderstanding with old files." "Jacob!" Her tone dropped. Calm, cold, terrifyingly steady. "Please don't do that. Don't lie to me like I'm stupid." The room was spinning. My chest tightened. I'd told 1,000 lies over the years. Small ones, big ones, seamless ones. But this moment was different. Because this time, the person I loved most was standing on the edge of discovering everything. Were you ever really in that accident? She whispered. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. I wanted to tell her no. To tell her yes. To say something, anything. But the truth was heavier than my tongue could carry. She stepped back, hands trembling.
Oh my God.
Claire, wait! Were you ever even paralyzed? I couldn't meet her eyes. My body froze, the same way it used to when doctors asked me to move my legs years ago. Except this time, it wasn't fear of pain. It was fear of truth. When I didn't answer, she exhaled sharply. Jesus, Jacob. You lied to everyone? For years? I didn't mean for it to go this far, I said, voice cracking. I was 17. She cut me off, voice breaking. 17? You were 17 when you decided to fake paralysis? Do you even hear yourself? Tears blurred my vision. I was lonely, Claire. I didn't have anyone. My parents didn't care about me. I just wanted attention, she spat. You wanted attention, so you made everyone think you were broken? You let your mother suffer for years thinking her son might never walk again. Her words hit like stones, every syllable another crack in the fragile version of myself I had spent half my life maintaining. I know, I whispered. I know what I did was horrible. But once it started, I couldn't stop. Every day it got harder to tell the truth. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was seeing a stranger in my skin. Do you even know who you are anymore? She asked softly, and the worst part was, I didn't. She grabbed her coat. I can't be here right now. Please, I begged, reaching for her hand. She pulled away like my touch burned. You need help, Jacob, serious help. Then she left. The door slammed, and with it the air in the apartment vanished. I stood there in the echo of her footsteps, staring at the empty space she'd filled moments ago. That night, I barely moved. The city lights bled through the blinds, painting fractured lines across my walls. The wheelchair in the corner seemed to mock me, a monument to my lies. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. We need to talk. I love you no matter what. Please come home. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to believe her. But I knew once I walked into that house, I couldn't hide behind the story anymore. The next morning, I drove back to my childhood home, the same one I'd left behind years ago when I claimed I needed a fresh start. The driveway was the same. The porch creaked the same. But as soon as my mother opened the door, I saw it in her eyes. She already knew. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked defeated, like something inside her had finally broken. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, she spoke. I always wondered how the doctors never found anything. But I thought maybe it was a miracle. Maybe God saved you. I told everyone my son was a living proof of faith. Her lips trembled. Was all of that a lie, Jacob? My chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. Yes, I whispered. Her hand went to her mouth. A sob escaped before she could stop it. I was a kid, I said, tears burning down my face. You and Dad never saw me? I was just invisible. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I was hurt, you'd finally notice me. She looked up at me, her voice trembling. So you destroyed yourself just to make us love you? That broke me, because it was true. She turned away, whispering something under her breath. A prayer, maybe, or a curse. I couldn't tell. I reached out, desperate. Mom, please. I'm so sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, She stopped me with a raised hand. You need to tell your father yourself. I can't do this for you. The front door opened. My dad stood there holding his briefcase. He looked between us, confused, sensing the tension instantly. What's going on? My mom's voice was barely audible. He has something to tell you. I met his eyes. For a second, I saw the same man who had carried me into therapy held my hand when I couldn't walk, and I knew I was about to destroy him. "Dad," I said, my voice trembling. "The accident. It never happened." His face went blank. No anger, no disbelief, just emptiness. What? I made it up. I wasn't paralyzed. I lied. He blinked slowly, as if trying to process words that didn't make sense. Then he laughed, a hollow, humorless sound. "You're joking," he said. I shook my head. He stared at me, eyes wide. "You mean we spent years, taking care of you doctors' therapy bills?" His voice broke. "And it was all fake?" I nodded, unable to speak. He turned away, fists clenched. "Get out! Dad, please! I said get out!" The sound of his voice, booming, raw, guttural, ripped through the room like thunder. I stumbled back, choking on my own tears. My mother cried silently, turning away from me, and for the first time since I was 17, I felt truly paralyzed again. Only this time, not in my body but in my soul. I walked out, the cold air slicing my face, each step heavier than the last. My whole life had been built on a lie to gain love, and now it had cost me the only love I ever wanted. I didn't remember driving home. All I remembered was the silence, the kind that crawls into your ears and refuses to leave, a silence too loud to bear. When I finally reached my apartment, I sat in the car for a long time, engine off, headlights cutting through the darkness like thin, trembling arms. I could still hear my father's voice echoing in my head. "Get out!" Those words didn't just kick me out of a house. They threw me out of my own story, because now there was nothing left to hide behind. No wheelchair, no pity, no illusion. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the victim. I was the villain. The apartment felt colder that night. Claire's things were still everywhere. Her books, her coffee mug, her favorite sweater hanging over the chair. I wanted to call her. I wanted to tell her everything from the start. But what could I say? Hey, remember how I lied about being paralyzed for years to get my parents' attention? No amount of honesty could undo what I had built. The following days blurred together. I didn't go to work, didn't eat, barely slept. I kept replaying everything in my head, every smile, every tear, every fake moment of pain, and the haunting question, who am I if I take the lie away? It was day 4 when I got the email. The subject line, "You don't deserve their forgiveness," no sender name. No address I recognized. Inside, one sentence. "You lied to everyone, but you didn't lie to me." My heart froze. The room spun for a second before I realized I was holding my breath. I read it again. And again, no attachments, no clues. Just that single poisonous line. I tried to laugh it off, a scam, a troll. Maybe someone overheard something at the hospital, or Claire told a friend. But the next morning, there was another message. Subject, "Do you remember Riverside Boulevard?" Body, because I do. You weren't hit by a car that night. I saw what really happened. A cold sweat broke across my neck. I hadn't thought about that street in years, the fake place I'd told everyone the accident happened. I chose it because it was far enough from my house that no one would check. But whoever this was, they knew it wasn't real, and worse, they knew me. The next email came hours later. "You can't keep hiding. Tell the truth, or I will." My hands trembled as I typed back, "Who is this? What do you want?" No reply. That night, paranoia became my only company. Every sound outside felt like a threat. Every phone buzz made my pulse spike. I sat by the window watching the streetlights flicker. The next day I went to therapy. For once I thought about telling my psychologist, Dr. Kellen, everything. But when I sat across from him, his calm eyes made me shrink back again. "Jacob," he said softly, You look exhausted. Are you okay? I forced a smile. Just some stuff happening. Family things. Do you want to talk about it? I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But my throat closed up again, and I just shook my head. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, when you're ready, but I wasn't sure I ever would be. When I got home that evening, my phone buzzed again. A new message, this time with a photo. It was me, 17 years old. Sitting on my bed, pretending to struggle to move my legs. Someone had taken it through my bedroom window. Attached was one line. The truth always finds a way out, Jacob. My body went cold. My breathing quickened. Who had that photo? How long had they kept it? I scrolled down and saw a second attachment. A newer photo. It was taken last week. Me and Claire sitting at the park, smiling, and beneath it, the message, "History repeats itself." That was when I knew this wasn't random. Someone had been watching me. I tried to think, who could it be? My brothers? Someone from school? Tyler, the old friend who messaged me? Or maybe someone from the hospital all those years ago? I called my mom, panicked. She didn't answer, called Claire. Straight to voicemail, called my therapist. He was unavailable. For the first time since I was a kid, I felt that same suffocating helplessness again, except this time. It wasn't because of my legs, it was because someone out there had control over me, and I didn't know who. That night I couldn't take it anymore. I went to the park where the photo of me and Claire was taken. Maybe I'd find something. Maybe I'd find them. It was 1 a.m. The park was silent except for the wind brushing through the leaves. I walked to the bench where we'd sat. Nothing. Then I heard it. A soft click. Behind me, near the trees, a flash of light. I spun around. Who's there? No answer. Just footsteps fading deeper into the dark. I ran toward them. But the park opened into a street, empty. Whoever it was, they were gone. When I got back home, my phone buzzed again. A new message. You can't keep pretending forever. Tomorrow everyone will know. And attached to it, a screenshot. It was a draft post for social media, already written. My full name, my fake story, my lie. Everything. Someone was about to expose me to the entire world. Sleep was impossible that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo. Me, frozen in bed at 17. Pretending to be broken. Whoever had that image didn't just know my secret. They'd been there. By dawn, I'd made a decision. I couldn't just wait for the truth to destroy me. I had to confront it, find out who was behind this before they pulled the trigger. The post-draft they sent had a timer on it, scheduled for 6 p.m. That gave me less than 12 hours. I opened my laptop and started digging. The emails came from an encrypted address, bouncing through multiple servers. Whoever it was knew how to cover their tracks. But one mistake. A trace left in the photo's metadata. I zoomed in. GPS data, coordinates. It pointed to a small house, 2 hours from the city, my old neighborhood. I stared at the map, heart hammering. That address? It was his, Tyler's. We hadn't spoken in over a decade. The same Tyler who'd messaged me a few days ago asking where the accident happened. I didn't even think twice. I grabbed my keys and drove. Rain fell the entire way there, like the sky wanted to warn me off. The streets looked smaller than I remembered. Memories flickering past like ghosts pressed against the car windows. When I pulled up outside the house, it looked abandoned. Windows boarded, mailbox overflowing, front gate rusted shut, but the lights were on inside. I stepped out of the car, every sound amplified, the crunch of gravel, the wind whispering through the trees. My hand shook as I knocked on the door, once, twice. Then it creaked open. The smell hit me first, dust, dampness, something faintly metallic. Tyler, I called out. Silence. I stepped inside. The living room was empty except for a single desk, a laptop still running, the faint hum of a generator in the corner. On the screen, an open document, my story. Every detail written in chilling accuracy, footsteps behind me. I turned around, and there he was. Tyler, older, thinner, eyes sunken but sharp, too sharp. He smiled faintly. "You finally came, Tyler. What is this? What are you doing?" He tilted his head. "You don't remember, do you?" "Remember what?" He stepped closer, his voice low, almost gentle. "That night on Riverside Boulevard." My pulse quickened. "There was no night. I made it up." He smiled wider. "No, Jacob, you didn't." For a second, I thought I misheard. "What are you talking about?" He looked at me with pity, or maybe disgust. "You really think your brain made up everything? That it was just a lie?" He laughed quietly. "You really are broken." I stepped back. "I don't understand." 17 years ago, he interrupted. "I was driving my dad's old truck, drunk, idiot kid stuff. I came around the corner too fast. And you were there." "You did get hit, Jacob." The words hit harder than any car could. I froze, my mouth open but no sound coming out. He kept talking, voice shaking now. "You were thrown into the ditch. You weren't bleeding badly, just out cold." I panicked. "I thought you were dead." "I called an ambulance anonymously and ran." He looked away. "2 days later, you told everyone you were paralyzed. When I saw that on the news, I thought, maybe it was punishment. Karma for what I did. So I stayed silent. For years, my knees buckled. I gripped the edge of the desk, feeling the ground tilt beneath me. No, that's not possible." The doctor said. "They couldn't find any damage," he said quietly, "because your injuries were temporary. You recovered physically, but mentally." He shook his head. "You believed what they told you, that it was all in your mind. So you built the lie around it. You made it real." My head was spinning. The memory, the screech of tires, the flash of headlights, it wasn't real. I'd convinced myself it wasn't real, but it was. Tyler's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to leave it buried. But seeing you on social media, telling your story like some miracle survivor, I couldn't take it anymore. You turned my crime into your legend." I stared at him, trembling. You destroyed my life." He shook his head slowly. "No, Jacob, we destroyed each other's." Silence. The kind that pressed against the walls until it felt alive. Then he gestured to the laptop. "You can stop the post. I haven't sent it yet. But if you don't come clean, I will." I walked toward the computer, my reflection staring back at me in the dark screen. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I could delete it. I could walk away. But for the first time in my life, I didn't want to lie anymore. I turned back to him. "You should tell the truth, too." "About that night?" He nodded slowly. "Maybe it's time." We stood there, two ghosts of the same sin, bound by an accident neither of us could undo. I didn't delete the post. Instead, I opened a new one. My name is Jacob. When I was 17, I lied to everyone I loved. But it wasn't just a lie. It was confusion, guilt, fear. I was in an accident I buried so deep that I forgot it ever happened. I hurt people who didn't deserve it. And this is the truth. I hit publish. Tyler stared at me. "You sure about that?" I nodded. "I've lived my whole life pretending. It's time I let the world see me for who I am." Outside, the rain had stopped. The air felt clean, heavy, real. When I walked out of that house, I didn't feel free, but I finally felt honest. Resolution. Lesson. In the weeks that followed, the world didn't explode. People judged. Some forgave. Some didn't. My parents didn't speak to me for a while, but one day, a message came from my mother. "We may never understand why you did it, but we still love you." Maybe honesty is the miracle we needed. Claire never came back. But she read my post. She sent one message. "Thank you for finally telling the truth," and maybe that was enough, because sometimes the real paralysis isn't in the body. It's in the lies we tell ourselves just to survive, and the hardest part of healing is learning to stand again, not on legs, but on truth. It's been a year since I told the truth. Sometimes when I walk past the mirror, I still see that boy in the bed, 17, pale, motionless, waiting for someone to notice him, and every time I whisper, "You can stand now. I don't post much online anymore." The noise used to feel like validation, the likes, the sympathy, the way people leaned in when I told my miracle story. But once the truth came out, silence became louder, and strangely, more peaceful. People didn't know what to do with me. Some said I was a manipulator. Some said I was sick. And maybe they were all right. But when I wake up in the morning now, I don't need to remember which version of myself I'm supposed to be. The world is quieter when you stop performing. One evening, I went back to that old road, Riverside Boulevard. The asphalt had cracks now, small weeds pushing through like stubborn reminders that life always finds a way back. I stood in the middle of it, listening to the faint hum of distant traffic. It hit me. This was where everything ended and began. Where guilt was born, where loneliness grew roots, and where I decided that lies were safer than being invisible. For years, I thought the lie protected me, but really, it kept me chained to the very thing I was running from, the truth that I didn't need to break myself to be seen. I kneeled down, touched the cold asphalt, and whispered, "I forgive you." I wasn't talking to Tyler. I wasn't talking to my parents. I was talking to me. That night, I sat in my car and recorded a message for my therapist, the one who still didn't know the real story. For the first time, I didn't hold back. I told him everything, every lie, every regret. Every night I stared at the ceiling, begging to wake up as someone else. When I finished, I hit send, and as the message uploaded, I felt it. The weight lifting, not gone, but lighter. Redemption isn't fireworks or applause. It's quiet. It's lonely. It's painful, but it's real. A few weeks later, I met Tyler again, this time at a small diner halfway between our towns. We didn't talk about the past. We just sat there, two men who'd both been haunted by the same ghost for too long. When we finally stood to leave, he said something I'll never forget. Maybe we were both paralyzed, just in different ways. I nodded. Yeah, but at least now we're walking. Outside, the sunset painted the world gold. The kind of light that makes everything look softer, almost forgiving. I stood there for a moment, breathing it in, the air, the sound, the stillness. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like pretending, because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free all at once. Sometimes it just gives you permission to start living again. If you were me, if one lie had saved you once, but haunted you forever, would you finally tell the truth? Comment below what you would do, and remember, some scars aren't meant to be hidden. They're meant to remind us how far we've come.